So we've all heard that DNA is the code of life, right? But what does that actually mean? How does a simple string of letters actually build, well, you? Today, we're going to break down that incredible molecular story.
Think about it for a second. You are made of trillions, and I mean trillions of tiny cells, and somehow they all know their job. They know what to become, and they know how to work together. So who's conducting this massive orchestra? That's the big question we're tackling.
Well, it turns out the answer is this stunningly elegant two-act play that's happening inside you, right this second. This diagram right here, that's going to be our map. We're going to follow the information from its source, that famous double helix, all the way to a finished, working protein.
All right, let's kick things off with Act 1, the cell's master blueprint.
And that blueprint is, of course, DNA. You can think of it as the master architectural plans for an entire city. Every single instruction needed to build and operate you is written right there in that code.
Now, a plan this important, you can't just leave it lying around, right? It needs some serious security. And that's why the DNA is locked away safely inside the cell's head office, a little bubble called the nucleus. So, if the master plans are locked away, how does anything actually get built?
Well, that brings us to our next part, making the messenger copy. The cell had to figure out a way to get the instructions out of the vault and down to the factory floor.
This process is called transcription. And it's brilliant, really. Instead of moving the original precious blueprint, the cell just makes a quick temporary photocopy of the one page it needs. This working copy is called messenger RNA, or just mRNA for short.
And this little guy right here, this is the photocopier. It's an enzyme called RNA polymerase. It latches onto the DNA, unzips a small section of it, and starts reading the code. As it scoots along, it builds a matching messenger RNA strand, a perfect transcript of that one specific instruction.
And here's the key. Because this messenger RNA is just a disposable copy, it's got a hall pass to leave the nucleus. It slips out and carries those precious instructions into the main part of the cell, where all the construction is about to happen. So our message has left the main office and is now out on the factory floor. And that's where we find our construction site, the ribosome's assembly line.
This is where the magic really happens. The language of the code finally gets translated into a physical thing. And that's exactly what this step is called, translation. We're literally switching from the language of nucleic acids, the A's, C's, and G's, to the language of amino acids, the actual building blocks of life. The mRNA doesn't just float around. Nope, it docks with one of these incredible protein-building machines, a ribosome. You can think of this as the workbench where all the action is about to go down.
Okay, so how does this ribosome actually read the message? It reads the mRNA in little three-letter words called codons. You can see some examples right here. AUG, CUU, GGA. Each one is a specific order for one building block. Now, for every codon, there's another molecule called a transfer RNA, or tRNA, that has a matching three-letter tag. Think of these tRNAs as a fleet of tiny delivery trucks. And what are these trucks carrying? Well, each one is loaded up with a very specific amino acid, the raw material for our protein. The tRNA truck that matches the AUG codon always carries an amino acid called methionine. The truck for CUU always brings leucine. It's a foolproof delivery system that makes sure the right part gets added at exactly the right time. So the parts are arriving, the assembly line is humming, and that brings us to the most amazing part of this whole story, folding into function. As the ribosome chugs along the mRNA strand, it's linking these amino acids together, one after another, into this long, kind of floppy chain. This chain is called a polypeptide. At this point, it's basically just a string of beads. But a simple string of beads can't really do anything, can it? The real magic, the source of a protein's power, is what happens next. Based on that specific sequence of amino acids, the chain spontaneously begins to twist and fold into a very specific, incredibly complex three-dimensional shape. And this right here is the aha moment. The polypeptide chain is just raw material, but the folded protein? Now, that is a working machine ready to do a job. It could be an enzyme, a bit of muscle fiber, or an antibody. The shape is absolutely everything.
Okay, let's just zoom out for a second and connect all these dots so we can see why this code really matters.
It's one beautiful, unbroken chain of command. It all starts with, number 1, that sequence in the DNA blueprint. That determines, number 2, the codons on the messenger RNA. That dictates, number 3, the exact order of amino acids. And that order, in turn, creates, number 4, the protein's final folded structure. Finally, it's that structure that controls a cell's function.
And this helps us understand why the code is so vital. As this quote lays out, a single change in the DNA, just a tiny typo, can cascade all the way down, resulting in a misfolded, useless protein. This is the molecular basis for countless genetic diseases, where one wrong letter in the blueprint leads to one faulty machine.
And at the end of the day, this entire process is the foundation of you. Every single one of your traits, from the color of your eyes to your ability to digest food to how your heart beats, it all starts with this simple, elegant process of translating code into creation.
Which leads us with a final, kind of mind-blowing thought. If this molecular pathway really is the engine of life itself, what happens when we gain the power not just to read the code, but to start rewriting it?